All right. Hey everyone, I'm with Nick Sundahl. Hey Nick, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on
Good.
today. So
I
Nick's
appreciate
in
you.
Minneapolis, St. Paul with Keller Williams, and we're going to talk today about how do you stay in touch with your clients after you've done the deal? Because it's so easy during the deal, right? You're like, feel like you're best friends. And then all of a sudden it's like, you lost your best friend. What happened? You know?
Right. And I think and that's where a lot of us, especially in this day and age when you're talking about connecting with people through online leads, right?
Yeah,
Where you didn't know them prior to that.
right.
So you've now developed a relationship. Well, you've kind of got to suck them into your ecosystem, if you will, right?
If you, I guess it's like if you want referrals from them, you need to be able to stay in touch with them. But I think that's like the first point. It's like you don't have to like stay in touch with all of your past clients. You have to choose who you want to stay in touch with, right?
No question about it.
Mhm.
I think that even goes to current people, right? Well,
That's a
I,
different podcast, Nick.
well, no, but I mean, I understand what I'm saying is we really get caught up in casting the biggest net
Hmm.
and trying to catch all the fish
Right.
where we are gearing more towards people that want to work with us, right? I
Yeah.
mean, those are if we're like-minded, or maybe even if we're not like-minded, but if you can guide that
There's some
person.
click somehow.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah, right.
Exactly. Where you're showing them value. And some people, just regardless of your personal relationship, might not find value in what you bring to the table. So
Exactly.
I think
So
that
how
I
do
think that
you, yeah, I think I agree with you. So how are you staying in touch with with your past clients that you want to do business with, that you want to get referrals from? What do you do?
well, you know, being at Keller Williams, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is kind of taught, and there are some new iterations coming through, but it's a 33 touch, which is now into a 36 touch. That's kind of a standard
Hmm.
for any database. What I've kind of layered on top of that is not only, and this past year has been a bit of a struggle, but in-person events,
Hmm.
although virtual events work,
Yeah.
as well as being online, being present in a virtual world where you
Yes.
can, for lack of a better term, be omnipresent, because staying top of mind is the name of the game. And what I've found has been very useful, even though I question it quite often, is my video production
Hmm.
and just producing content that is for the viewer. It's
Yes.
for the consumer. It's not advertising.
Hmm.
It's more marketing slash, here's information if you've ever thought about this. Or if are you, I mean, even for people who are already in the transaction with another agent,
Right.
they might find a video of mine, whether it's on my YouTube channel
Right.
or Facebook or Instagram or what have you. But finding those little pieces, those tidbits of info
Hmm.
that maybe their agent isn't giving them,
Hmm.
or that they're curious about and they're afraid to ask the
Yeah.
agent.
Right.
How many times do we get this? Like, well, I don't want to bother you
I don't
with
want to,
this
that's
stuff.
insane to me, but
Bother me
yes.
as if you've hired me to
Right.
do this, right? To answer these questions, no matter how simple or mundane we think that they are.
Right.
The client, they're flying blind a lot of the time. So I think staying in front of them, not only with that 36 touch, that
Hmm.
standard newsletter,
Hmm.
postcard,
Hmm.
care calls, what have you.
Whatever it is. Right.
Yeah, but then also just goofy stuff here or information there, and giving them a platform where they can go search it out
And
too,
find
right? I
it.
mean,
Yeah. I think
right,
though, like the 36 touch is it's kind of based in science because they do, I know that Gary Keller and his team do like a lot of research on that. And that's why they changed it from like the 32 to the 36. It's because we're getting inundated, right? But like to your
right,
point, so it's 36 touches in the year. So every
right,
year, 36. So if you have like a newsletter that's, going out, if you have like you said, like a postcard, if you're calling, and then sprinkling in, to your point, things that are more that are aligned with you as a person. So
Right.
you're like an outgoing person. So like video and events is like super fun. But for some people, it's not fun, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like also doing other things. But video is a really, really, really good way, even if you're an introvert, because to your point, people do look for information, and a lot of people are searching online, and video comes up a lot, like from like an algorithm standpoint on most sites. So what are the videos, like give us the examples of the headers of videos that you're doing and like where it goes.
Sure. So my focus has been in terms of growing my database
Mm-hmm.
from YouTube,
Okay.
and only because it's a search engine and that information is searchable. And when people are on that platform,
Right.
they're looking for information or entertainment or things that they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, if you're putting the same kind of, you can't really put the same kind of stuff on other platforms
Yeah.
because it just doesn't, YouTube is just kind of an animal of its own.
Right.
So for me to grow my business, it was more of, I'd seen other people doing this where it's pros and cons of living in the Twin Cities or Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my biggest video is, what is winter like in Minnesota? Because everybody wants to know about the weather here, right? Everybody thinks
It's
it's,
terrible. That's all you have
right,
to
it's freezing
say.
cold.
It's cold,
Right.
it's terrible.
How can you possibly live there? But people do move here and they want to know what that's like. So it's a lot of, here's what you need when you live here to
Yeah.
survive our winters, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So providing that kind of information for people who are the very top of the funnel. They're just, what is it like to live there? That's where my stuff kind of leads. Now, I've expanded to do more very real estate related information, both from a buyer's perspective and a seller's perspective. And I'm using different platforms for that.
Okay.
It's more short form. It's, minute or less kind of stuff. And it's quick hitting. It's quick tips, things like that. So
your YouTube page inspired me to start, like, I have a YouTube page, but it's mostly for realtors. I was like, oh, this is a really good idea. So like Cincinnati is divided into 52 neighborhoods. And so like your channel that you're talking about, like, what is it like to live in Minnesota and Minneapolis? What are winters like? Stuff like that. We're going to be doing them of like, what is each of the neighborhoods like? What are the benefits of each of the neighborhoods? Because I was like, man,
love it.
Nick is so smart. He's got
Love
tons
it.
of people. Yeah. And
Well,
that's really searchable.
right. And that's going to help not only for people relocating,
Mm-hmm.
but that will help for people who are moving within Cincinnati, who might not be all that familiar with, I live kind of on the northwest quadrant of the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't even know what it's like to live on the east side of town.
Right.
And
so
I
like,
don't. I've never lived on the east side of town,
Yeah.
so I don't know. So even something as simple as that, where you're giving people like, here's the hot spot, or here's where to go to get your driver's license, renewed.
Yeah.
Here's where you go. Right. That information being the digital mayor, if you will, right, of your town.
You can also like pull your clients in though. So like depending on your territory, it's like, okay, if you sold a house in that neighborhood, right? You can pull one of your past clients in and be like, hey, you want to be on a video about like why you chose this neighborhood, why you love this neighborhood, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
So then it also creates like this like testimonial for you almost. And like you said, it gets them trapped like in your world too. So if they want to move and they're thinking about like, well, what about this other part of town? They're going to automatically remember like, oh, I did that video with them. Maybe they have a video on the other part of town.
Yeah. And you mentioned something like, and I'm big on the word ecosystem now, because we got that at family reunion.
Yeah.
KW, right? They were talking about an ecosystem, because you talk about like Netflix has its own ecosystem, or there are certain companies. Amazon is actually the perfect example, right? Because you go there not only to watch movies or listen to music, but you're shopping and you're, so you've been sucked into what they provide. Well, that's our goal as well, on a very just an individual scale. So can we suck them in through providing that value? And then you keep them there with the value adds like events, and post,
Right.
I send out a recipe postcard,
Yeah.
stuff like little tiny, just, it's not real estate related, but they know it's from their realtor, right?
Right.
So,
Well, the recipes are, I mean, the recipe card, like I would never send that one out. Like I would, but that's like more you because you like to cook, right?
right,
But like
absolutely.
my friends know that I like White Claws. So maybe I could do like a White Claw recipe or like best White Claws in town or like whatever, right? Just something. I think it's important for people to get out of it. There has to be something that's consistent, right? Consistent real estate information. And maybe that's like an email form, because that makes sense. Or some
Yep,
kind of video form if you're like maybe younger, maybe that makes sense. However, your group of people consume content, like something consistent about like market updates. But then, yeah, putting in stuff about your personality because they chose to work with you as a person. They didn't choose your
absolutely.
company and they didn't choose
No,
somebody else.
no,
And then every
no. And
time you're doing something, it's like, can you pull in a past client? Like, can you, like, maybe you're making the recipe together or whatever. You got a recipe from them. Cause like now, like I'll post stuff on Facebook and my past clients will send me stuff to be like, oh, post this funny meme I saw or whatever.
right,
Right.
right. And that goes, I mean, that's where it's relationship building,
Yes.
right? Those, we're just doing it in a different way. It's not just getting coffee together and
Right.
chit chatting about what's
Right.
going on in your life.
Right.
It's the reason why Facebook has groups,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It's the reason why um, that there are those online platforms are gearing themselves towards connection,
Yeah.
that's beyond just voyeurism, if you will, scroll through your news feed, because
Right.
the vast majority of people, when they get on their phone, it's just it's a scroll
It's a scroll.
session.
Yeah.
It's not a participation kind of scenario. Most people are there. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have said, when they finally call, or when I've, sent that one piece that triggers something,
Yeah.
that, oh, we've been watching your videos and we were thinking about selling, or we're
Right.
watching your videos and go, oh, well, you never comment, you
Right.
never like it, you
No,
never share it.
they're the ones
But,
that never, yeah.
and that's fine. They don't have to. I mean, I
Yeah.
wish they would, right? Because it would get to more
It
people,
would be
but
awesome.
yeah. But ultimately they're watching, they are
Yes.
paying attention, you are
Yes.
staying top of mind. And
Yes.
in the sales cycle that we're now in, which is reaching what, every 10 years,
Yeah.
that you just have to
Relationships
be
are
patient for it.
key. Yeah, relationships are super critical to our business as real estate agents. And I think a lot of people, and you talk about like going deep into these relationships and finding commonalities, introducing them to each other, even. But it's like when we first start, we think we have to have all these people, and you really don't. Like every time I work with an agent and say, what are your goals? And we're like, okay, well, you really only need like 40 people. Well, if you
Right.
only really need like 40 people, that's not that much.
Can you manage 40 really great relationships
Right.
during the
Yeah.
year?
Right.
I mean, and some will fall away,
Yeah.
and you have to be okay with that.
Right.
And new ones will come in,
Right.
right? They do. And that's another really hard pill to swallow, because we have all had that person who we thought we had a close relationship with, that we thought, it's in the bag if they ever want to move, like they're going to hire me, and they go hire somebody else, which
Yeah.
was ultimately our fault for not,
True.
we either
Or
were
they list for sale by
close enough.
owner, Nick, which is worse. Oh, we did a podcast
I'd
on
rather have
both.
them, I'd honestly rather have them hire somebody else
I
than
think
force
I
it.
would too. It's like
Well,
disrespectful if they go for sale by owner.
really, it's just because I don't want to have to say I told you so. I don't want to be like, I I don't like being, I mean, it's a little fun, right? There's that little
A little bit, yeah.
yeah.
But it's
But
not.
I don't want to have to say I told you so. And I've
Yeah.
had to say that,
Yeah.
because they finally call and they go, how do you manage all these showings? I don't know. How do you?
Right. Exactly.
So
No, I think that's awesome. So, I 100% agree. When you have a client and you you know that you want to keep them as a past client. You know they're not only a good referral source for you, but they're also a friend, right?
Right.
Keeping them in your ecosystem by consistently reminding them of that you're an agent, and also doing things in that are like you, that are authentic to you.
No question. And
Mhm.
I've heard, I mean, there are so many things you can do. There's 100 different ways
Right.
to provide value to that
Oh my God, a billion ways.
database.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast, I think it was a Tom Ferry podcast, where
Mhm.
somebody was talking about they just give gifts.
Yeah. Because they like that. They're gift givers.
And right.
Yes.
And of course they're thoughtful gifts. They're not trinkets,
Crap.
right? It's
Right.
not swag like a can koozie or some,
Yeah. Don't do that.
garbage. It's I thought of you when I saw this,
Hmm.
and you shipped it off to them. And I mean, that's, imagine the power that's
Yeah.
behind, you've got them forever if
Exactly.
you doing stuff like that. So if you're, to your point, like somebody who's very introverted who might not be into events,
Yeah.
that's something that could be very powerful for you,
Yes.
or an idea, if you will. And even doing video can be super helpful if, even if you're not the most outgoing person on a camera, providing pieces of value to people, it just, I
Yeah.
think, goes such a long way over the long. I mean, certainly this is, when we're talking about taking this um, path,
Hmm.
it's the long play,
Yeah.
right? This is marketing as opposed to cold calling, doing
But
your,
that's okay. It
30,
is and
40,
it
50 calls
isn't,
a day.
right? It is if you're pulling in new clients this way, but if you're keeping your past one, it's actually, I would argue that it's like shorter because they're more likely to remember you, because we all like to think that we're super memorable. But if you're only doing a transaction once every 10 years, you're not going to remember if that agent never reached out to you, because your client is somebody else, your current client is somebody else's past client if you're selling a home that they live in, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like you have to be able to keep in touch with them and be okay with asking them for the referrals, but using that framework of the 36 touch, sprinkling in things that are authentic to you, is just a much easier ask at that point.
Right. And obviously specific to your point with past clients, that
Yeah.
makes total sense. I mean,
Yeah.
it's much easier to maintain that than
Yes.
it is, if, as long as you have the right systems in place that don't
Yeah.
make it too difficult for you to, do at least
It's
somewhat
cheaper to
automated.
keep her, Nick, you know?
Oh, no doubt about it. But I guess I was more referring to, like, you know, on our Facebook accounts, we don't have, 500 past clients necessarily. I mean,
Right.
some I'm sure out there do, but not everybody that I'm friends with on Facebook is a past client or,
Yeah.
a current one.
Right.
So that means even though we have a relationship per se,
Yeah.
I'm still trying to capture them,
Well, they could
right?
still give business referrals if they're learning
Right.
from you how you do business and they're vibing with it. They will
Right.
give you a referral. Don't you think, more likely than if you didn't demonstrate how you do business?
I would agree with that, at least to a degree. I mean, obviously I think some people have, and this is me personally, but until I experience it,
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult to
Yes.
give out the referral. Now, if we're talking about getting into like more of a networking group where
Hmm.
you've given referrals,
Yes.
I think that's much more likely. But again, it's about a giving. This is all
Yes.
about give, give, give. It's not
Exactly.
about, the take.
Yeah.
Eventually you do the ask. Eventually you take something, but it really is about giving and offering up services, even if
Right.
it's not real estate related.
It could be anything. Yeah. I mean,
Yep.
you're the
No question.
resource, right? And so that's part of this touch campaign of past clients and current sphere, basically,
Right.
is, yeah, being the real estate resource. And how do you demonstrate that that is something that's sustainable for you as a person and as a business owner, not doing something that's like, so like, I don't do pop buys. I don't really give
Yeah,
gifts,
I mean,
because it would be so unauthentic. You know, people would
Right.
be like, what is this? I'd be like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I did.
I'm supposed to do it.
I tried the pop. I did try the pop by, but it was for Halloween, and I was dropping off pumpkins.
Oh
So I
my
dropped
God,
off pumpkins. Yeah,
you should have done the
and a
pumpkin
little.
pie recipe and had like a pumpkin pie recipe like class or something. That would have been more
Right.
authentic.
Yeah, probably. But I dropped off. So I mean, you try things too, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
if
yeah.
we're talking about doing something that is memorable, if you will, I was dropping
Right.
them off with a little carving kit, and it was,
That's cute.
and I did a giveaway
Okay.
if they posted their carving
Right, right.
and tagged me in it, right? So it was trying to entice them to, and it was all past client stuff.
Yeah.
I'll never do that again. It did not go well. But we do, like, our office is huge in doing like a pumpkin patch where
So
people show up,
fun.
right?
Yeah.
So
Events are
maybe
fun.
that's more the angle.
But see, I like I want to pull out a point too with what you said is what is your ultimate goal? So the goal of having this like campaign, this touch campaign is to get referrals and for them to remember you, right? So tying it,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point. If that's not the point, don't do it. Okay.
Why bother?
Why bother? So if that's the point, have a way for them, make it easy for them to do that. Make sure that they know what is the best way to refer you, and we'll just tell people now what's the best way. So when we're talking to people, it's like, if who do you know that whatever lives in this Sycamore Township because I have a buyer, and they'll say Sally so-and-so. I'll be like, great, what's her number? So it's me reaching out to that referral, not the referral reaching out to you. Do you agree?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's much easier for me to touch base with them and kind of break the ice than it is for the referral.
The other way around. Yeah.
Right.
So just making it easy for them to give you what you want, which is the purpose, the referral and the repeat business, which is the purpose of doing this whole thing in the first place.
Well, if we're not getting repeat business, then one, how will you can't really grow the business.
Right.
And you won't, and it's really hard to be profitable without repeat and referral.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just always just chasing the carrot,
oh, it's exhausting.
That's a recipe for burnout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wouldn't we all want to just sit back, get that 36 touch, or, even with online stuff, could be 48.
Right.
With as many times that people are, posting, could be 186.
Right.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It's
I'm
like
posting something almost every day about something, right?
Right.
And so hopefully it touches somebody out there that will either call, text, email, whatever. But
exactly.
Ultimately, we just want to hit the button, sit back, and take calls.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I
love
mean, we talk about all these making calls, but isn't the goal to get away from ever having to make a call? Don't you actually want to be reactive? I mean, I guess like saying, "Hey, come list my house," or "Hey, let's go look at this house that I found."
Yeah.
Right? That's the call. I mean, it makes no sense to me to chase when we should all be just, waiting. I mean, not waiting, but like we should be busy enough where we're not just sitting there twiddling our thumbs. But it just doesn't make it. I don't know. It seems
we could fight
to the ultimate goal.
Yeah, I understand the concept for sure. Well, I really appreciate you being on. I think we hit on a lot of good points here that I know people are going to take a lot away from this. If they,
I hope so,
if they have a referral for you in Minneapolis, St. Paul, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Whoa. Well, they could really just type my name into the Google machine, just Nick Sundahl. It's or nicksundahl.com is just a landing page that has all of my contact info. So you can call me from it. You can email, text, what have you. There's also all of my social media platforms are listed there if they want to check those out and see what I'm doing. Obviously, we live in a world of R&D where it's rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
I'm not the first one to do it. I won't be the last. So, have at it.
Nice. So just if you're listening and not watching, it's Nick, Nick, and then
Yep.
Sundahl, Sundahl.com.
Yep. Perfect.
Well, thanks a lot, Nick. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
Have a good one.
All right. You too.